Hi, Hugh Taylor here, coming at you with a video I've been thinking about making for actually quite a while, but finally got around to doing today, which is to talk about press releases and public relations for music, musical acts, music businesses, performances, that kind of thing. It's something I do a fair amount, and I want to share, and I get asked about a lot, and I want to share with you some thinking about what's involved and what to do, what not to do, what can go right and what can go wrong, and that kind of thing. So just a quick overview. Press releases and public relations in general can be helpful in promoting a musical act, but it's not easy. And a lot of industries, a lot of the music industry sort of unfair dynamics are at work. Like if music industry isn't fair to new acts, then PR is sort of in the same boat and something to be aware of and deal with. And so we're going to talk about a few do's and don'ts for PR in music and see what might be effective. Just a little caveat or two about this for me. Here's a picture of me. As you can tell by looking at me, I don't really look like a big music industry person. I'm not a specialized music industry publicist. There are people who are extremely experienced in this with a lot of connections. They are amazing. I definitely recommend working with them if you can afford it. These are people who tend to be expensive. I'm coming at it as a sort of a generalist who's done a fair amount of work in music, but by no means am I a music aficionado, and I'm just for the this is really not that much of an exaggeration. K-Tel's disco hits of the 70s, that's about my speed for music, and that's kind of where I'm at. But I've had some successful projects in music PR that I will share with you as we go forth. And for perspective, I want to just start with some bad news. This is a famous quote from Hunter Thompson. If you don't know who he was a famous gonzo journalist in the 60s and 70s. He was played by Johnny Depp in a movie, as you can see here in the bottom right. He said, "The music business is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs. There's also a negative side." So, I'm sorry, I don't mean a downer, but if you're in music, you probably know this is true. It's not a good industry. It's not fair to talent. And the public relations side of this reflects that to some extent. So a couple of high-level observations about this. Sort of the numbers game of music works against you. There's a lot of acts that want attention, that want to get bookings, that want to get gigs. They can't all succeed, or the numbers kind of work against you. This is true in PR as well. There are a lot of acts trying to get attention from music reporters, and they don't have enough time to cover everybody, even if they want to, or maybe they don't even notice because they just get inundated with queries. Also, music reporters can be very specialized, which is good and bad, meaning that, if let's say that you're like a rap group or something. Well, there are reporters who cover rap and urban music. They will be more interested in you than a reporter who doesn't cover rap. But the problem is that, in your city, there might be like 3 reporters who cover rap and 100 reporters who cover music. The 3 reporters who cover rap might look at you. The 97 who don't cover rap aren't going to be interested. And that's something to be aware of. It can work in your favor. It can also be very frustrating. The other thing to be aware of, and this you probably know, is that the major media outlets are not necessarily the best for your purposes. Getting covered in the New York Times, which is like exponentially difficult, may not be as good for you as getting covered in some local blogger who covers the music scene in your city. That person might actually have a following that'll have people coming to see your gig and they may be a lot easier to reach than the big time people. So keep that in mind that, what does success look like? It may not be, as the song says, getting your picture on the cover of Rolling Stone. There could be a lot of ways to be successful without sort of, the classic success. And along the way, I'd say watch out for the you have to do this, you have to do that advice, which is obviously, it's usually very well intended. Like your drummer's girlfriend says, "Oh, you got to do a press release." Okay, do you? Maybe not. I mean, I think that's something to be aware of, and I'll walk you through something that happens. I get asked about this. Somebody says, "I want you to write a press release about my band or my new single or my new vinyl record or whatever, and I want you to distribute it." Okay. So let's talk about press release distribution for a minute. Let's take a quick digression because it's a poorly understood area of PR, and I like to be clear with people about what they're getting or not getting with press release distribution. So if you excuse me one second. So press release distribution is an automated syndication process where your press release is automatically sort of pasted onto a bunch of media sites. So here's something we're going to come back to later, but the Ameripolitan Country Music Awards announces sponsors. So this was distributed on EIN Presswire, so it shows up on Google News and AP News and the Texas Newswire, and it also shows up on Associated Press. For example, here it is on Associated Press. Okay, which is cool, right? Here's the thing, though. This does not really get people in through the door. It's good for search engines. Here's another. It got picked up by another media site. It's effective for getting it sort of out there, and it can be good if people are searching for you. It shows that you're getting picked up, but it is not the same as getting an actual article written about you. People don't really read these very much. It's mostly read by machine, if that makes any sense. So then the other thing too I would suggest is focus on outcomes. Like, what do you want to happen, and how can PR help you achieve that goal? And this is one of the things where people are like, duh, of course, I know what I want to have happen. But I want to just share something with you. In the case of the Ameripolitan Country Music Awards, which I did the PR for, the award, there was an awards show, and then there was a series of performances at local clubs in Austin before the award show. Okay, so initially we were promoting the local performances, like come to this club, come to that club. And one of the people on the awards production team said, look, we need to sell tickets to the awards. We shouldn't be promoting these local gigs. And so this was an issue, and and this is what I'm saying. I'm not like a big music PR person, but this person was absolutely right. The business goal was to sell tickets. PR has to serve that goal if you want it to be effective. Like, we could have done a lot of PR and got a lot of people to show up to these gigs, and then they would have skipped the award show, right? That's not what they wanted. So what do you want to have happen? You want to have people download your music. You want to have people buy your record, come to your show. Think about what you want to have happen, and then gear your PR to that, okay? And here's an example. I just thought it would be good to show an actual example of a music press release. This is about a rapper in Ohio named Carlto. And I want to just point something out here. So like every press release, there's a headline. Greek rapper Carlto launches new website for his music. And then the subtitle, Ohio-based musician has more than 14,000 Spotify listeners. Now, there's a lot going on here. This is not just an accident that we settled on these headline and subhead topics. So there's a bunch of stuff going on here. One is Greek rapper. That's a little bit different. You want to, if there's something different or special about you, you want to emphasize that. There's news. I like to say the word new is in news. He's launching a new website. There's something happening. He's announcing something new. Okay, then the subhead, Ohio-based musician. This is, we targeted Ohio music reporters here. Reporters are usually into local stories first, unless they're covering like, Beyonce on a national tour. That's different. But like for a lot of musicians, where you are is important. And we want to emphasize he has 14,000 Spotify listeners. That's important. Now, maybe that's not a lot, but it's more than nothing. And it's showing this guy is having some success, right? Remember how the industry works. Reporters gravitate towards success. They want to write about people who are making it, right? So this is all about telling his story. And then the article's about him, how he's, started with $20 microphone and, how he's built it from there. So this was how we try to get some attention for Carlto by being a little different, a little special. So now I want to share a couple of success stories The first success story was the Peterson Brothers. It is a Austin-based musical act. They've been around for quite a few years, and I worked with them. We did a media pitch, meaning that I wrote a press release and a sort of a cover letter and sent it out to local media outlets and national media outlets. I did this because they are known locally in Austin and the Texas area, but they also potentially have a national following. And this worked pretty well. They got featured as Song of the Day. The announcement was it was a new single coming out. They got featured as a Song of the Day on a local radio station, the Austin Music Experience, KUTX, and they got a blog article written about them in a blog that specializes in Texas music. Okay, so this was a successful story, but one of the things to bear in mind here is they were already a pretty well-known local act. Like, this did not come out of nowhere. Most of the reporters we talked to already knew who they were. Okay, so you might say that's not fair. You know, it's like one of those like catch-22. How do you get famous if you're not famous already? So that was, but that was I think one of the contributing factors. And I will tell you also, though I'm not a music expert, these guys are really good. Okay, this is, you know, you listen to their music like, wow, okay, these people are professionals, right? Anyway, here's another story. This is a really interesting story. I was contacted by this kid's father. He's Neil Nayar. He's at this time, now he's older, but at this time he was 16 years old. And his thing is he plays 117 musical instruments. And he's just amazing, right? But it's an amazing story. So I was able to get him on Good Morning America because they were just like, wow, we've never seen anything like this, right? So it's just a cool story. And now obviously not everybody has a story like that, but everybody has something like this going on. What is special about you? If you have something special to say, a reporter will generally at least listen to it, right? The music itself obviously is extremely important, but this is PR, you know? Like, you want to get people to listen to the music, you might need to tell an interesting story. What's in your background, your experience? How did you come to be doing music? What inspired you? That sort of thing. Now let's talk about the American Country Music Awards, which this was a little bit different. I did a much more extensive series of work for them than I usually do. I did about the equivalent of 10 gigs for them. I was really working, you know, really like a publicist for hire, not just as a gig person. But so we did multiple pitches with press releases. This is an award show in its 10th year where they recognize country music acts for the so-called Ameripolitan sound, which is kind of a classic country music, you know, roots, what they call roots of country music sound. And the organizer of the show is a performer named Dale Watson and his wife Celine Watson, and they are pretty well known in the country music world. So again, I'm not working with an unknown quantity here, and a lot of the people we were talking to in the press were already familiar with Ameripolitan, so it was a little easier to get them interested in the story. But you know, it's not a slam dunk. This wasn't like, you know, the Rolling Stones going on tour or something. There was still some struggle to get attention. We had to work on it. We worked on local media outlets. The award show was in Austin, Texas. We worked a lot on local Austin outlets, as well as national outlets and specialized country music media sites and blogs. And we had a very specific goal. And like I mentioned before, we wanted to get people to come to this show. So we had to get pre-show PR. I mean, we did also want people to come and review the show. But the problem with that is then when they publish, it's already over. You know, like they wanted ticket sales, right? This was the challenge. So we did a lot of work on this, and we got them featured on local CBS News affiliate morning show for, you know, this up and coming event. We got articles pre-show. This is a clip of their little thing on the Austin Chronicle events website, which is really critical to getting people to come to the show. Sorry, something's going on here with this. And got them a bunch of articles written about the show pre-show. This is the coverage examples are in the link in the below, as well as an example of the press release we did. And we got multiple reviews of the show, which is important for building their sort of portfolio of press coverage. going forward for next year and so forth to sort of build their brand a bit. Success factors here were star power. I mean, they had a lot of talent showing up at this award show. And again, I'm not a big country music person, but the people they had, like Ray Benson, Flaco Jimenez, Augie Myers, Junior Brown, these are people who are known in country music. And so reporters were interested. It's like, oh, wow, like look at all this talent that's going to be there. So that translated into the promoting, putting the show in there, what's happening this weekend sort of stuff in the paper and on the website. And some of these had previously covered the awards, like the previous years of the awards. So there was not like this, who are you? What are you doing? They already knew that. So anyway, those are some thoughts on music PR. It's not the simplest of topics. I hope this video has been helpful in kind of shaping your view on it a little bit, that it's not so simple. A lot of the rules, like you got to do this and you got to do that, don't necessarily apply. Keep your business goals in focus and go from there. And in general, if you like what you're hearing here, I'd encourage you to get my free ebook, Stop Being Invisible. It's available at the link below. And we can help. Let's talk. You can reach us at comsfactory.net. Thanks.